request from the Ukrainian Cultural Society. We thanks Terry for doing some digging, and if I can summarize what she told me is that it's a definite maybe that we can do FCSS, but it depends, and it's partly tied into the cultural aspect and doing some of the shows with the senior center and with the schools. So that's where we might be able to tie it in, but we wouldn't know until we apply or talk to them directly to see if it would go. So at this point, that's where we're at. We're not sure if we can put it under that budget line or if it would have to come out of our donations line. Councillor Gilroy.
I think that if you look at where they get a lot of their potential dancers, there's an educational portion there within the public school system. And maybe if we can get Mr. Strebchuk to work, or someone from the Ukrainian, to maybe work with our treasurer on doing whatever it takes to see if we can squeeze into the FCSS. It would be.
The educational portion would not qualify for FCSS because educational is under an umbrella of a different department, and they will not allow us to duplicate any services that are already done by a different department. So education itself would not qualify.
Yet they go in the school to spread, just like the First Nation, Indigenous people go in the school to say the things about their culture.
They're promoting culture, but it's not education. Can't use the word education.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay, Councillor Stenhouse and Councillor Courtly.
Is there any way we can help them out with like their ticket sales by putting it on our board and stuff like that? Doing more promotion for them?
Certainly, if they want. You know, I'm not sure. They might even have it up there. Have they? Do we know if they put up a request for that?
Sure, I don't do that.
Okay. But yeah, it might be a thing. We could let them know that we could advertise it. Yeah, absolutely. If they're interested in it. Councillor Courtly?
So I'm thinking the way we're talking there is if we continue with the original amount from the town, but add on to the basically saying that if possible another $1,000 out of the FCSS to make it 2,000. If we can do that, so that way, if the FCSS doesn't work, we still have the 1,000 for them. But if it does work out, then it's a bonus. We can give them 2,000. Can we add that on?
We could. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead.
Again, being that it's a maybe, but my position would be that what I would like to do is put into the FCSS $2,000 and have a matching $2,000 from the town. That'll give them $4,000 potentially of the money that they need. They've got $10,000 shortfall, now they're only looking at $6,000. And if they get the grant money, then that might pare it down even more. That's what I would like to do. Even though we might not get a nickel from FCSS, but at least we could still get $2,000 there.
Councillor Gilroy.
Since I made the original motion, if the council agrees with Councillor Long, I'd be willing to amend my motion to Councillor Long's idea of the town with committing 2,000 with the potential of 2,000 from FCSS if approved by FCSS.
For me, just to talk on that particular moment, we've got 25 dancers in their committee, and now all of a sudden it's $4,000. That's, it's at $160 per person, which seems like a lot for a small group. I know that they need it, and there's lots there, but on a per person basis, that's a big commitment.
I'd be willing to do Councillor Courtney's if that's what you want. So one of those two is fine with me.
No, that's just my thinking on it. I mean, for 25 dancers, and we look at those 25, there's probably half of them are from the town, other half from the county. That's a lot for every ratepayer to sponsor a dancer. We're looking at probably $360 a dancer at that. When you look at it that way, to me is a lot. I would be more comfortable with the other suggestion. That's my take on it. Councillor Danaka?
Just by going with our donations and sponsorship sheet from 2018, I'm going to say that it didn't qualify because we, from council donation 2-11-770, we gave them $1,000. So I'm going to say it didn't qualify.
That was based on the fact that it was a recreational entertainment type thing. Because of the other stuff that I found out tonight that they do, some of those aspects could fall under FCSS. So that's why I'm thinking it could go both ways.
So does that mean that Councillor Danaki, you would be amenable to 1,000 from the town and a possible 1,000 from FCSS? Okay. I'm just trying to clarify because I'll make my amendment to whatever the council wants.
I don't know, what do the rest of you guys think? Councillor Stenhouse?
Well, we can't forget what he said. People are broke. They can't afford it already. So who are we to dictate? I'm with the $1,000. Because the town is the people are already saying we can't afford it. Because they're not buying the tickets and they're into their fundraisers. By us giving more, I know they need more, but I don't think we're the ones to say, well, you got to come up with the money and support these guys.
Okay. Where are you at, Councillor Courtley? Just
I'm
because.
with my original.
Okay.
Okay.
1,000 where I'm at.
Okay.
It would seem as though most of council is amenable to an amendment of 1,000 with an additional 1,000 pending FCSS approval. No. My original motion was just 1,000 period. We didn't, but I made the motion, so.
No, I just said if we could amend the original motion.
And so that's why I'm amending the motion that I made in the first place.
Everybody agreed.
Yeah.
That's all. It was just an idea.
So did you catch the change, Nancy?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a motion to, Councillor Courtley.
Now, with that, is that something that you have to physically research and ask if it's available, or do we just pay and ask for forgiveness later? Well,
It can be either way, depending on how sure I am once I read the information. If I think I can swing it, then I'll ask forgiveness if I have to later. If I'm really not sure, it's really ambiguous, then I have phoned them a few times and asked them. So it depends on the situation.
Okay, so we've got 1,000 from our grants for sure we're committing to, and then an extra 1,000 from FCSS if it qualifies. All those in favor? Carried. We're going to our financial report.
We should do that first.
Yeah. Any questions for our treasurer on the financial report? I'm not seeing any hands up. It's so early in the year, there's not much happening just yet.
I'm
So.
looking it up.
Oh, you're looking it up?
I was
Okay.
bringing it up on my computer.
Okay. Yeah, I have to, but
Because I downloaded it.
did you have any? Yeah. All right.
Wish we all had tablets.
Yeah. I don't see any questions So with that in mind, we got a motion to receive from information. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to our treasurer's report, which we have in front of us. Any questions on this? Oh, okay, sorry. Councillor Stenhouse.
That council received the January 2019 Treasurer's Report as presented for information.
All right, do we have any questions for our treasurer? Councillor Danaka.
I'm just wondering if you can expand on all these meetings that you've had with different people on the human resources.
There are a lot of things I cannot say, of course, because it's confidential, so I can't name names or give individual situations. But overall, I can say that the move of all the additional employees from the recreation to the town has created a lot of extra work. Their policies were different than ours. Trying to explain things to them, trying to make sure that we follow the labor laws, trying to make sure that proper process and procedures are done. It's been a very extensive work for Anita and I. We've also had a couple of disciplinary issues that had to be dealt with, and again, they're time consuming. One of them is totally resolved. I don't think that problem will come up again. One of them is still ongoing, and there's another one coming up. But again, they're very time consuming.
Councillor Gilroy.
This will probably be easier for you. And that has to do with preparation for the audit and ongoing preparation for our budget deliberations, so we can do our final budget deliberations. How is that progressing? I know that's kind of large, but you probably have an idea of how things have finished at the year end and what kind of audit we're going to have and how and the ratepayers and stuff like that. You may have a better idea, so we can be a bit more prepared.
The audit, the different departments under my jurisdiction for taxation, utilities, accounts receivable, accounts payable, payroll, is getting more and more streamlined every year, and there's improvements every year. It's getting to be really going well type of thing and stuff. Mistakes are less. We've resolved some of the old stuff and fixed it. In that respect, it's going very well. In respect of the amalgamation, there has been a lot of extra work created with the transition. There are extra entries that have to be done. Some people are still sending checks to the Recreation Society, and they should have gone to the town. There's some stuff that's being paid for 2018. For example, April of 2018 is being paid just last week. And it went and the check got sent to the town, and we had to give it to the society because it actually belongs to the society. Then somebody else will come in and write a check to the Recreation Board for an invoice from January. And so that creates extra work. And then there's all the year-end adjusting entries, which the auditor will be doing, and that'll be a lot more extensive. But we all knew that, so.
I'm assuming that all new invoices going out from the rec department will say all checks are payable to the Town of High Prairie Rec Department or whatever.
They do. Some people either aren't reading carefully enough or whatever the case may be, and it creates extra work. So, in regards to your the budget deliberations, the amounts from the assessor for the actual amounts should be, the final numbers we should be getting next week sometime. So far they look good. They'll probably be increased from last year as Vern and Brian and myself already expected, which is good. Today we also, Karina and I had a tax webinar on DIPS, which is the designated industrial properties that the province is doing. And their rates and everything will probably be similar to last year. I did ask if, because of the calling of the election, if that was going to change some of the deadlines and some of the stuff that was going to be done, and they said no, because the process is almost finished anyways. It'll be done before the elections hit anyways. So for this year, we're fine. However, it may delay their provincial budget, and that could delay the education portion. And if the education requisition comes in late, then all municipalities will again have problems with it being the wrong amounts. And like if you recall a few years ago, they got the right amounts to us in September, which made a big difference, and they had to be assessed and over levies and under levies the following year. So the education portion might be affected. So we can't do the tax levy bylaw until we get all that. So, and of course the budget will be as soon as council decides to do it, but we can't do it until we have the assessment numbers.
I had a question. When can we expect the auditors to be done and we get the audited report?
The auditor will be coming in this month. Their usual timeline, they have it done by the end of April, which is when it's due to the province. And so, same as usual.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Stenhouse.
Okay, under miscellaneous, you sent pictures and information to...
Yes, the Dale Harrison is the one who does that highway guide that we have at the front counter, and he needed some updated pictures of the museum, of the campground, etc., because he wanted to put a little bit more information about High Prairie in his brochure this year. So I just went on to our server, picked a few pictures, sent them all to him, and he can pick and choose and do what he wants to do with it and add whatever he wanted to. But it just took me an hour or two, but...
I see no other questions. We have a motion to receive a report for information. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to the High Prairie Golf Club line of credit loan guarantee. Okay, I got a motion. Councillor Gilroy.
The council gives second reading to bylaw 03-2019, line of credit loan guarantee for the High Prairie and District Golf Club this 26th day of February 2019.
Okay. Any questions on this one?
They're up to date on it.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Do we have another motion? I'll make the motion that council give third and final reading to bylaw 03-2019, line of credit loan guarantee for the High Prairie and District Golf Club this 26th day of February 2019. Councillor Gilroy.
I'm just wondering, as just a clarification from when they were here last time, didn't they say that pretty much this was close to the end of the original guarantee? They paid every year on time, and this is the last one, and they're going to restructure it?
Not quite. There's two different bylaws. One was for a loan, and their loan, they are getting close to the end of their loan. This is an automatic, it's like an operating loan, and so it's a different one. They're two different loans.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments on this? All right. For third reading, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to 10.1, procedure bylaw. And just before we do the procedure bylaw, that Nancy, fill everybody in on what the changes there.
the reason you had a second one printed out was just because the Schedule A was wrong in the agenda. But I talked to Marion after, and she did say the rest of it should be up to date with what you guys need to look at.
So just the numbering in the Schedule A was not right, eh?
Yeah.
In the one that's in our
In the
package.
agenda. Yeah, but she said all the other stuff to do with the call to question should all be the same.
Okay, so we need a motion on this. No motions, we gotta get somebody making motions here. Everybody's got their head down. Oh, Councillor Long had his hand up. Okay, I missed it. I was looking there first.
I council give a second reading to bylaw 19-2018, this 26th day of February 2019.
Okay. Okay, any questions, comments on this one? Seeing none, I think we've been through it once. We know we had the questions on call the question. We got it clarified and cleared up. And it is fairly clear now that we call for a vote if we want to continue or not continue, right? So we're all clear? All right. All those in favor? Carried. Do we want to do another motion here? Councillor Courtley?
The council give third and final to the bylaw 19-2018, this 26th day of February 2019.
Okay.
Should that say, not say final reading?
It should say.
Yes.
Third.
Good catch.
It just didn't flow.
Yeah. All right. Any other? I don't think we'll have any more discussion. But just one last check. Seeing none. All those in favor? Carried.
I thought he was going to call the question.
Now we have bylaw 10.2, amendments to the land use bylaw. And this is the one where we have an incorrect version of the land use bylaw.
So can we make a motion that we just send it back to administration?
Yeah, we can, yes, absolutely.
That way it still stays.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
We can do it first reading if you want.
I'd rather have the one that she had. Okay.
If you recall, Ms. Modi did make a suggestion that you do have the first reading and make that amendment in your public hearing. And the reason for that is that this needs to get started. There is someone that would like to make a presentation to council, and it'll make a difference if the process is already started or not.
Okay, so this motion will be a little trickier. Oh, and Councillor Gilroy had his hand up, and then a little trickier,
Okay.
he pulled it down.
The council give first reading to bylaw 02-2019, this 26th day of February 2019, to provide clarity and consistency of the bylaw.
Yeah. But we have to add the change that we caught regarding the 12-year term and not, it's just cut.
Can we not do that with this before the second reading?
Well, we know that there is the change, and we want to advertise.
Then I'll let
the
you
change.
finish off my motion for me, Mayor.
Okay. Like I say, a little tricky, so we can do this as a group, but I think we want to say with the up-to-date amendments as mentioned by, or no, we can't say mentioned by. Can we say mentioned by? Or suggested by MMSA. So we want the latest version out there, not the version that's in our package. And and it's around the 12-year plan, right?
Thank you.
Okay. And we want to get this done so we can get started.
She had the wording correct when she made the presentation, so when Nancy reviews the recording, I'm sure she can use the proper wording.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay, any discussions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, first reading is done.
Knocking it off.
Moving to 10.3, Regional Broadband Memorandum of Understanding. Get a motion there. Councillor Daneka.
I make a motion that council approve the Regional Broadband Memorandum of Understanding and appoint Mayor Panasic as the broadband liaison, and that council direct the liaison and the CAO to sign the Memorandum of Understanding.
So it's great to see this moving ahead, and if we can get everybody on board, it'll be even better. It'll be wonderful. This is exciting. Any other questions or comments on this? Good to go. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Now to the addendum, the Alberta Northwest Species at Risk letter of support, or request for a letter of support. That's the addendum. Yeah.
We did membership last time, now it's a letter of support. Okay.
Yes. So they had sent an email to me just a little bit before this meeting, so I sent it to Brian and said if we could sneak it on, because they're asking for a letter of support to basically get some funding from the government to do a boots on the ground research on the caribou land and get some better data on that. So they're looking for the government to do better studies, and they want a letter of support from us. That's the gist of it. We didn't get a motion. Did we get a motion? Not yet, eh? Councillor Gilroy.
Well, since it's not costing us anything, I'll make the motion that council write a letter of support for the NWSAR-ABMI NW Collaborative Caribou Ranges Research Project.
Okay. Any questions, comments on this? No, I totally agree. It's not costing us anything. If we can get some more data, it might help with that study. It might help with our caribou and our impact with caribou. Yeah. Indirect, not directly, yeah. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments. Oh, question, Councillor Long.
A couple of years ago, back at AUMA, there was a discussion brought forward during the voting. At the AUMA, there was a couple of years back. There was discussion brought forward by the town of High Level, and their concern in that the species at risk didn't include, when it looked at the economic and socioeconomic side of it, didn't include the town of High Level as to what will happen when they create 1 million square kilometers of land set aside, untouchable, and how that's going to impact the town of High Level and the exploration companies that operate out of there. And it was brought forward to and was passed by the AUMA at that time that we would support their motion, which was to curtail this and come up with a better strategy. Right now, what this does then is again, I see that it's sent to the town of High Level, but is this the same organization that has created so much problems for the town of High Level? And if so, we should contact town of High Level.
I can answer that. I'm not sure if it's the mayor or one of the councillors.
The mayor is vice chair.
Oh, it's the mayor. Okay, yeah. It's the mayor of High Level is the vice chair on this committee.
Okay, good.
And she's very active in it, so they're very aware and involved with this, so they do know about it, and they're busy doing just like what you said. This committee is trying to get some more look at this and not just have the Caribou land range pushed through without recognizing the implications, and trying to balance all of the different factors there. And so that's what they're pushing for. And I mean, it does impact West Fraser and Tolko and stuff too, because the Caribou does come, their ranges come into their FMAs also. So it does impact our forest companies also, not just the high level ones. Councillor Gilroy.
And once again, to point out, the very last paragraph in the letter says, if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact us or our administration, Haley Gavin, which is Haley H. Gavin at highlevel.ca. So High Level seems to have a great hand in this. And once again, hearing from a couple other communities who are either affected by species at risk or the caribou ranges in our northern area, anything above Edmonton, I'm sure that they're going to definitely research this extremely well so that everyone is given the best take on it.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we have the motion to send a letter of support. All those in favor? Carried. Down to 11.1 MMSA aerial imagery.
We had her here. We did ask.
Get a motion on this one, please. Don't see any motions yet here. Everybody's sort of in and on. We got to get started, so I'll put this out that council approved the cost of approximately $8,032.70 to acquire new 2019 digital aerial photography and produce a digital orthophoto in 7.5 centimeters provided by Terran. That'll open up some discussion. Councillor Danaka.
I thought we had said back to administration to get MMSA to come and give us a presentation, which I thought that was what she was doing, because she was listed as a scheduled delegation, to see what it is that we're actually seeing.
Yeah, it's too bad we didn't think of it. We could have asked questions of it for sure while she was here, but I think...
Well, I thought she was here for that too.
Oh, okay. But I think they covered this because they sent out the email so you could actually see the images. So that sort of clarified what you're getting. And then if we had anything else we could have asked, but you could see the difference in the photos through the email. Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Councillor Gilroy?
With such a stringent budget we're looking at, where do we come up with the 8,000? I'm sorry, that's bottom line for me is if we're with the stuff we're talking about and the extra money we just spent today on the golf course and that, where are we going to come up with the $8,000?
I mean, at the end of the day, it comes back to our ratepayers. And is this a service that we think our town people would want? That's what it comes down to. Would they be willing to pay for this? And that's the answer to your question, right? I mean, it comes on to our ratepayers. Councillor Long?
And my question would be to the CAO, is this something that's valuable to the town as a corporation? Does it make your job easier, or is it something nice to have but not necessary?
I think it'd be something nice to have, but not absolutely necessary.
Councillor Gilroy?
Just to add to Councillor Long's question, when Mr. Martinson was here last meeting talking about it, he thought it was very important. That's just his opinion as CAO, and but once again, I really struggle with putting in any extra money at any time when we're in budget deliberations, and will it pay for itself? And at the same time, how do we control our spending if we continually just put in deals like this?
I'd like to add that it's just my opinion as well. I've lived here for all my life, so I know a lot of areas of this town. It's just my opinion as well.
Jim's point.
Council could put it part of 2019 final budget deliberations as well. If you chose to do, but wouldn't.
When do they need to have an answer by for this?
That I'm unaware. I'd have to look into it.
What would you use this for, Vern, this increased clarity?
I think it would probably just go on our website for people to have a look at. I personally, I don't think I would use it as public works superintendent.
Isn't that part of the layering that they were talking about as far as?
To overseeing property and property lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think personally as public works superintendent that I would use it, because we go out and verify everything that we do anyway physically. So
I think what they wanted to do eventually when we get it all worked out is that they want to put in where the gas lines and the water lines and everything are, so you know if there's an issue where you got to go and whereabouts it is and all that stuff. They want to have all the layers.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this is adding the layers of those
Not yet.
water and sewer lines. This is just making the picture clearer. Yeah. Councillor Stenhouse?
But even if you did use this in Google where your gas lines are, you still got to make that call, the first call, and they still got to come out and mark it. So it's.
Councillor Gilroy?
Well, in order to, I kind of like our acting CAO's suggestion. If we make a motion to then put it to final deliberations of our budget, that way, if we get a chance to ask Mr. Martinson exactly what he was thinking of and any other questions that administration, not that our acting CAO isn't good, but it was brought forward by Mr. Martinson. When he gets back from his vacation, it would give him time to satisfy any questions, and it would also, if there was any flexibility, I'm not saying there is any, but if there was any, maybe our treasurer could have some input as well. So maybe we need to amend it to send this request to the final deliberations for the budgets of 2019.
I think that might be a good suggestion for another reason, is that we'd know whether or not some of the other communities were committed to this, because it does say in this that if there wasn't everybody that was in there didn't sign up, then the costs would go up, and then we might have a better idea of the final amount and see if we could then support it and get an idea. All right, so
between 8,000 and 13.
yeah, so I made the motion, so I'm going to make a friendly, or I'm going to sort of make an amendment to my motion that we move this request.
Excuse me?
Oh, sorry.
The motion that you're planning on making is so different than this one. It would be better if everybody defeated this one, and then a new motion would be made.
Okay, we can do that. So we have a motion to approve it. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I'll make a new motion that council council bring forward the request for approximately $8,032 to acquire new digital photography and produce a digital ortho photo in 7.5 centimeters by Terran to 2019 budget deliberations.
Final budget deliberations.
That's our budget deliberations. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Moving on to our CAO's report and action list. Can I get a motion? Councillor Long?
That council received CEO Brian Martinson's report and action list for information.
All right. Any questions on this? Tough questions. We need some tough ones for our acting CAO.
Ask no questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Councillor Gilroy.
I guess I'm a little concerned with the letter from Minister Villius, because it leaves room for question. Does our CAO actually have a letter that specifically points out that we get the full funding? Because this one says your application may receive full or partial funding. So do we have anything in writing that actually says that we have received full funding so that it's guaranteed?
If it's the one I'm thinking of, then yes, it was full funding.
Is it in writing though?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Or is that the infrastructure one that came in?
I'm trying to remember because we got two,
Yeah,
but I think we got full funding for both of them.
because we do have a commitment from this government to continue with the municipal sustainability.
MSI?
Yeah,
And that one.
under their budget. So that can change.
They are the current government.
Yeah.
Let's cash their checks quickly.
Okay, so
Be the second government.
yeah. Just that leads to another question. We had, along with this CARES grant, our engineers had applied on our behalf for a grant. Have we heard anything on that?
We got it. We got the grant.
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, that's the one. Oh, I'm thinking MSI that was an MSI grant that we got?
No, so we get.
No, I'm talking about
The intersection by the engineering company asked us for a letter to help with the study of the intersection.
We have a letter saying that we were approved for the full amount for that one, as well as the broadband one, which we filled all the paperwork out, and that's all started. So we've got full funding for both.
So then it goes back to the question that we still need to get something from transportation, because we still haven't got anything confirming whether we need to go ahead with that grant with the for the engineering. So we don't want to go ahead with any engineering until we hear whether or not this is going to be used. Because just to get you up to speed, Vern, is we applied on that not knowing, and at our minister meeting at AUMA, the local person in Peace River, Ryan, yep, thank you. Ryan had said, you don't need to do the engineering. If we do that intersection, we'll do the engineering. He said that verbally to us in the AUMA meeting. So we tried to get something from them saying in writing that they would do that. And they came back with something that they danced all around but didn't give us an answer saying whether or not we need this. So we need to get an answer from them as to whether or not we should be going ahead with this, because we don't want to spend that money if they're not going to use it. If it's going to stay in there and they'll use it eventually and it'll stay on file, then fine, it's getting done. But if they don't, it's government money one way or the other, right? That'll be doing it. Councillor Gilroy.
please refresh my memory. We were approached by the our engineering company that we do, to give them support in applying for the grant for the intersection. Now, did we?
No,
For the engineering of it, but did we actually apply on our behalf, or did we give them a letter of support so they could apply for it?
we applied, they wrote up the application.
Okay.
So it's the town of High Prairie that's,
So we have 3? You said MSI.
The
MSI.
commitment for this year is the same as it was last year.
Okay, so
I
it's
seen
that
I
one.
seen a letter.
And
that
2
came
cares
across
grants.
process.
And the 2 care grants.
Yeah.
Okay.
so that's an action item for you, Vern. See if you can get a commitment from them so we know whether or not we need to move ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Any action on number 47917? The council requests administration to discuss the alternatives with all town employees for their input. That's going back to October 10th, 2017. It says treasurer and it says ongoing still.
I have been working on this off and on for months. Originally, we decided to postpone it until the amalgamation, because there's no sense doing it and then having to redo it again until the amalgamation. The amalgamation happened October 1st. So now I was getting ready to set things up with them, and we've received some interesting information from RBC, and I'm just waiting for them to get the program in place. I referred to it a little bit in my treasurer's report. What happens is that RBC will be starting to have a new program that'll be more similar to, instead of having just RRSPs, they're planning on having something similar to a defined benefit package like an RRSP. And I mean, so instead of RRSP, it'll be a pension. And they are in the process of working on that right now. They should have more details on it in March. So I was setting things up with them in January, and they said, can you wait an extra month or two, and we might have this program available to roll out, and we can do it with the employees all at the same time and see if they're interested or not. So in March or April, we will be meeting with all the employees and with RBC, and we'll go over all the stuff along with the benefit package. We'll do it all in one shot. The way I was thinking of doing it is having it on 2 days, so that half the employees could attend one day and half could attend the second day, because we still have to operate on a daily basis, and this is going to take quite a few hours, and we can't have everybody in the same room at once. So we're going to have it on 2 separate days, or morning, afternoon, depending how much time it takes, so that all employees can attend.
Not to sound mean, but how will this possibility of the alternative affect our bottom line of benefit costs to the town and to the taxpayers? Would it?
Unknown until they roll it out and let us know what it is. And once they let us know what it is, it may be feasible, it may not be.
Okay, any other questions on this? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Moving on to our strategic plan update, 14.1. We have the addendum was passed on to you. Do we get a motion on this so we can talk about it? Councillor Stenhouse?
That council receive the strategic plan update for information.
Okay. So the one that you have in front of you is a little bit different than the one that was mailed out to you by Nancy. I went through it and made some changes to it, but there also needs to be some more changes to it. There's one of our goals is missing, and at our next meeting we need to fill in a lot more lines here to get to the specifics. And I think we've got an awful lot of things on here, and we need to, like I put in some measurement criterias just to say, is this going to work? But there's a lot of things that we might be committing ourselves to in this strategic plan, so I want to make sure we're all on board and that we're doing the top priorities that we want to work on as a council. And so that's something we want to work on. And just as an example, one example was we talked about getting feedback from the citizens and having an open door meeting on Saturdays. It was one of the ideas that Mayor Dumont did that back in the day when he was here. And I thought, I think everybody that was at the strategic planning thought, well, that's an interesting idea. And then I got thinking, well, how would we do that, right? Because we got to get in. We got to get into the alarm, and and then you're here alone. Is that good too? I mean, and having people coming and going. So those are all some concerns that we need to yeah, you got to have coffee and donuts. How many can you eat?
Safety and security for files and other things, since the mayor's office is accessible to everything in here.
Yeah, so I mean those are things that we don't come in here on our own, right? We might have the code. I think he sent it out at one time, didn't he? I can't even remember, but I don't know what it is. Yeah, like I say, I've never come in the building on my own, right? But those are just yeah.
Excuse me, don't say it out loud.
Yeah, don't say that.
Sure, just tell anyone who comes in here. Just go to the, why don't you tell them the combinations of the bolt too?
Yeah. So anyways, yes, well, that was just one of the items. There's lots more discussion. Like we had lots of other discussions at that other meeting, and so we really didn't spend that much time on the strategic plan. We need to sit down and flush this out a little bit more and come up with some specifics and nail it down. But I think at this point it gives a little bit more information, and then you can start adding to it a little bit. And Nancy, if you can find that other one that's missing, great. And if not, then I can share it with you, because I still had a copy at home and hard copy.
I got it somewhere.
Okay. Any other questions on the strategic plan at this point? No, I think it was kind of nice when we did our planning to sit there and go, yep, we did this, or no, we didn't, and why didn't we do it? So it was good. It's good to have a document, and then we made the changes to it, a living document. And one of the things I think for Arlen and Michael, you guys weren't here at that one, but we did talk about setting up some more on a bi-monthly or a quarterly one other sort of meeting, so that we can keep working on this and other things, like planning meetings as we go along, to keep up to date on that. Because it was good not being in the formal council meeting to have some discussions. All right, anything else? Nothing? We got a motion to receive for information. All those in, okay, go ahead.
Is there any, since this was actually put in an area that we looked at and we didn't see it until just now, under rebranding of the town, when is this council going to actually be able to see the results of the rebranding committee, so that we can either approve it or not?
Right, yeah, that's a very good question. Well, we have the tagline. We don't have a logo, but we have the tagline.
We haven't approved it as a town council yet.
No, we have not.
So nothing has been changed until we approved. That was what we said in the first place.
You're correct. Do you know where we're at, or is that Marion? Anybody know here?
Marion's on that.
I was just looking for a deadline on this.
Yeah, and you know what? The tagline isn't on here, and we probably should add that. And when we're going to have it. Oh, Councillor Danaka.
Okay. Part of the branding, I believe at our last meeting, we defined the criteria that we wanted. More of a script logo as opposed to a picture logo. It's gone, I believe it's gone out to schools. I'm not sure where it went in terms of putting it out for the general public, because I believe the cutoff date is March 4th or something. I'm not sure. Hang on here. Because we are re-meeting again on...
Well, I think what she's saying, and I could be, I'm interpreting this,
Rebranding
like
on
you
the
see some
13th.
things like they have just the fancy lettering, just
Fancy lettering
Town of
and-
High Prairie or just High Prairie. You know, like Westlock is just their lettering looks different. It's not an actual picture
It's
like
not like
our-
a picture like that. It's just
Yeah. No,
It's
it'll
just
just
a-
say High Prairie with
with the tagline underneath it and
Or
whatever.
not.
However,
Yeah.
we're meeting again on the 13th, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the cutoff from the school, I think, was March, like the 8th or something.
Okay,
Like I said, I'm not sure where it went from that meeting. Like I don't know if it's even out to the general public saying, please.
I was on the website the other day and I did not see anything.
That might be
about-
something we have to check with Marion on then.
Now, what
Do you have
about
an answer to that, Nancy?
Sort of. I know Marion was working on something, and I did hear that one of your members was supposed to come pick up the stuff from the school. Last I'd heard, this was like a week ago, that she hadn't picked it up. So I'm not sure where you guys are sitting with that.
I don't know.
Okay, but just and I'll get to your question but Donna, do you know what happened with the tagline? Because we haven't had anything come back here on that, and that closed, and we had the
overall number one tagline was Heart of Big Lakes.
Okay, what were the results of the other ones? What did they get for? What was the spread?
Heart of Big Lakes had 85 votes. We had 200 participants. Heart of Big Lakes, I think, had 85 votes. The nearest one was Lighted Up at 42, followed by Catch the Spirit was like at 41, but it was overwhelmingly Heart of Big Lakes.
Well, that's what you gave for numbers was about 165. You said 200.
And
total?
then and I can't remember we had 4 taglines. I can't remember what it was. Like these are just numbers sort of that I'm trying to recall, but I know Heart of Big Lakes was overwhelmingly the winner.
Okay.
The only reason I bring this up, Mayor, is because it talks about new town flags by summer of 2019. And when we talked about this particular rebranding committee, we put no obligation on this council to accept what a committee would come up with unless we as a council felt that it was in the best interest of our community. And so whether there's a tagline or a design, I was under the understanding that this committee would give it to us, and then we as a council would make the final decisions. And that's all I'm asking for is when is the timeline that we see this, because I really don't want to see new flags made unless we have actually approved as a council of the findings. Because originally it was even then we were not even committed to accepting any of them if we did not feel they were appropriate as a council. That was my understanding.
You're absolutely right. Council has to approve any taglines and any logo changes. So that's a given. The second part is the date. Those dates can change. It is a strategic plan. It's a date that we're shooting for, not that we're going to get it. And so those can change. We can adjust it when we get together.
Well, it would be nice to have it for the rodeo if we do decide to change. It'd be kind of nice to introduce it at the rodeo.
Okay. Councillor Stenhouse.
Okay, so I hope I didn't miss my spot with the CAO's report, and hoping my question falls under here about our budget survey questions. Is that part of our strategic plan for feedback from the citizens?
Yes.
And where are we with that survey?
Oh, okay, yeah, we were talking about getting a survey out to the people on the questionnaire that we refined the questions of. So yes, we can ask our CAO if he knows, or our acting CAO.
As far as I know, it's ready to go. Council Ryan had sent a sample out to council for approval? No? Then it
We
must be,
haven't got,
he had
sample.
something drawn up on his desk last week that he showed me, so I guess that's what we'll send out to you guys to, no?
We had a meeting since then, and they picked new questions, so I've got them pretty much drafted up, and I will send them to you to make sure I got it right, because my notes obviously the next day didn't make a lot of sense, so I will send it out. You did, so I will send it to you probably tomorrow. I'll try to do it in the morning.
Okay.
And get your opinion and see if I got it right.
And then we can send it out to everybody.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Okay, any other questions on strategic plan? Seeing none? All those in favor of receiving for information? Carried. Notice of upcoming meetings. The 2019 Municipal Leaders Caucus. We get a motion on this. So, yeah, quiet night. Everybody wants.
I've done half of the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grab it.
Okay.
The council received the notice of the 2019 Municipal Leaders Caucus being held March 27th and 28th, 2019 in Edmonton for information.
Okay, so discussion on this one? Councillor Long?
So, the Municipal Leaders Caucus is something that the mayors from all of Alberta go to, correct?
Yes.
Right. Yes, it's $987, but our mayor should be there. It's another second chance. It's another. Yeah, it's inconceivable that he's not going. We can be frugal and we can be worried about our dollars and where they're going, but the bottom line is the mayor has to represent our community to the province, to the other mayors, to the other counties that we deal and work with. And if we're not there, then we're not part of the conversation. And then we're back to High River? Oh, high level, no. Because nobody knows who we are or where we are. So he needs to be there. I don't think that putting it forward for information is probably a good thing. I'm just saying. So, yeah, I'll be voting against it.
Councillor Stenhouse.
All the mayors and the towns, we also do meet at AUMA also, and meet with ministers there.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Councillor Courtly.
I agree with Michael. It's another opportunity to be represented and be heard and be involved and bring something back to the community. Representing the community is important, so I'm for the mayor going to this Leaders Caucus, definitely. I think it's important to go.
And like, it doesn't have to be the mayor, it could be a delegate, but that's just one option out there too. I would also say that it's probably good, especially, I mean, with the upcoming election, focusing on how that could impact us and being able to share that information on what could come out of it, I think is good. I don't know if it's going to be a good caucus or not, like you don't know, but I think the topic is very timely, and with this provincial election coming up, that might give us some good ideas on, you know, they might have some insight on party platforms that we haven't heard yet that we might want to be considering, and that can be shared back here with us. That's it. Councillor Courtley?
I guess it's timing. Are you, on the dates, are you able to go?
I was looking at my schedule and I could go. Yeah. Yeah, I could go. Any other discussions? Donna, nothing. Brian, nothing. Okay. Well, we have a motion to receive for information. All those in favor?
That's okay.
Opposed?
You know how.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's good.
That's what the debate is for.
That's right. Councillor Courtley?
I'd like to make a new motion. The council approve Mayor Panasic or delegate to attend the 2019 Municipal Leaders Caucus being held March 27th and 28th, 2019 in Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Oh. Nancy, did you get anything on this particular
No,
event?
not yet.
Okay, because we need to, I guess, register for it and stuff. Can you look into that and get?
Probably tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if I had received anything on this. I can't
No.
remember.
I don't think
If
so.
we did, if you can take care of that, that would be great.
Well, no, actually, the deputy mayor should do it because that's his job.
If he can't go with the deputy mayor, we should go.
That's right, because that's his job. That's or her job, whoever is deputy mayor.
Or
That's her
delegate.
job.
Or delegate. But that's why she didn't like it. Oh. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, 15.2, and it's the FCM Annual Conference. Get a motion on that one. Councillor Gilroy?
The council received the information regarding the 2018 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference in Quebec from May 30th to June 2nd, 2019 for information, especially in light of how we did it the last one.
I don't think it was worth our money last when we went to Halifax. So, Mayor's Caucus did. I'm not sure this is worth it. That's what I'm saying for information.
Okay, other comments? Councillor Long?
I have one thought process in mind right now when I hear, so we're a community in Alberta that's fighting tooth and nail with our neighbors to get a pipeline built east or west, north, south, I could care less. We can't seem to get anything built. And you have a line of mayors along the St. Lawrence River saying they're not going to allow any pipeline through their communities whatsoever. It would be, I think, although I think it's going to fall on deaf ears, it behooves us to be there representing our community and our industries and the people of this province to say they're wrong, and that they need to hear the side from Alberta, from Albertans, and again, I think it's going to fall on deaf ears, but
we have to do it. We have to do our part, and even if it's being part of the Alberta contingent to say that we're here and we're not going away, we have to have our voices heard. Like having the town of High Prairie represented in mayor's caucuses, it's important for us to be there to support our industry and to support the people that are unemployed now as a result of the decisions and discussions being made by being ignorant, not knowing people in the eastern provinces who are willing to take Saudi oil over ethical, clean oil here. And so we need to be there to argue those points. The hypocrisy that's coming from the east blows my mind. That they would think that Saudi oil is somehow better than the oil we're getting in our own backyard. So I think we need to be there. But this time, not looking at it from a dollars and cents, what kind of grants are out there. This time, being a political advocate for our province and for the people of this community. That's why we need to go to this one. And that's unfortunate, but that, yeah.
Councillor Courtley?
Well said, Michael. I'm with you 100%. You're right, in my books.
Councillor Gilroy?
That was almost the same argument in the sense we had for broadband going to Halifax.
Hey, are we getting broadband?
Not from Halifax. We're getting broadband because we worked it out within our own province, and we worked very hard at it. How much federal money is coming to our broadband? I don't know, but I do remember that most of the report that came back out of Halifax was strictly on the plight of the African Canadian group and how that went into our First Nation group. And as much as we love our First Nation group, we probably did a better job before they went, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. In my opinion, and I would actually say that by wondering how many people went to the round dance on the weekend. But my point here is, I don't believe that this is a good investment of our town money. I think we have in fact, we have excellent people in our county that will do a dynamite job going, and they will be more than happy, because of our new agreements, to represent our entire area.
Well, they represent our entire area all the time. They should be. That's their job. We are part of the Big Lakes County.
I know it's always one of these, we always sort of split when we come to this, but, and again, I'll put in my thoughts as we should keep our eyes and our ears and our minds open, and this is some of these things you might go to a conference and you might not pick up anything that's of real value, but you may go to a conference and you go, aha, there's something that we can really use. Or you might get some of that money, or there might be a nugget there, right? And you don't know if you're not there. And that's why I think, sending one to it, and it does not have to be me, but I think it's worthwhile going to it, having somebody go. That's my thoughts. Councillor Danaka.
This always has been a contentious issue when it comes up. I mean, we've had FCMs every year since I've been on council. I mean, get great reports of what happened. I've yet to see any benefit coming out of it. I really fail to see a benefit going there. I really do. Like I said, the people that have gone there come back with a great report of, what they did and what happened, but I've yet to see any benefit coming from the FCM to us.
All right. Any other discussions on this one? Seeing none, We have a motion to receive for information. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is defeated. We're going to go to the same round here, right? It's a tie. Yeah. Councillor Long?
That council approve the mayor and/or designate to attend the 2019 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference, Quebec City, from May 30th to June 2nd, 2019, and direct administration of the hotel rooms and flights that are needed. Again, this isn't about purse strings and stuff that's out there for a grant. This is out arguing for the benefit of our community and for all the people that we talk about who've been negatively impacted because of the downturn in our economy. This is why we were elected. We're elected to fight for the people that we represent. And if we just let somebody else do it, then we might just go home every Tuesday and not even worry about coming here. This is what we were elected to do. And this costs money to do it. It's not always about what can we get for a grant. It's not always what can we get for broadband. It's not always about that. Now, it's advocating for those people who have been shafted by the people back east. And if you can do it, great. If you don't think it's important, I'm all for it. I'll sit back and just, I'll vote in favor of what you guys want. There's no sense in having it defeated again. So, I implore you, this is what we were elected to do. If you can't see that, then we're in a tough spot. We have to go. I hope whoever goes doesn't wear a yellow vest, but we have to go. And we have to be loud, and we have to be succinct in our arguments, we have to be steadfast in saying, you're wrong, and you're a hypocrite, and you're hurting our economy, and you're killing the families here. This isn't going to be a nice commence à la ça va bien, ça va très bien. This is not. This is going to say, what the hell do you think you're doing? And it has to stop. That's what this means is going to be. And when Alberta goes, and when Saskatchewan goes, they're going to be the loudest bunch in that whole facility. You can rest be assured will be the loudest bunch. And we should be there supporting it. That's all I got to say.
Go ahead.
So just to your, about the pipeline, there has been a lot of protests. There's been a lot of people showing up on Parliament's door. They're hearing us. And again, I'm going to talk dollars and cents here. You want to send 2 people at a little over $6,000 ticket, and we have community groups here who are struggling, and we can't find the money to give them.
Why are they struggling?
Because times are tough.
Why are they tough? You don't have pipelines. You have literally every community from Montreal, from east of Montreal to Gaspé saying no pipelines because it's dirty oil. How do we fight that? How do we address that? We address it by attending and going to their backyard and saying, this is wrong.
They've been calling those pipelines and that oil dirty for years. Why is it an issue now?
Because they're winning. And they're not going to let go until they
Should
win.
have thought about that years ago when they were doing that.
Okay, I'm just going to interject on 2 things. One is, I believe Councillor Long's motion was the mayor or a delegate, not both.
Mayor or delegate.
Or delegate, so singular. So that's, I just wanted to point that out.
I thought you said.
Okay, yeah, and then the other thing is if you go to our policy council, of FCM, shall send 1 or 2 council members when the conference is out of the province. So it is.
Previously, we've not gone to an FCM previously until all councillors have.
Yeah, like it does. it just says that we shall send one or two if it's out. So we can, that is our policy that way to send one. Councillor Courtney?
Well, I think it should be amended to say mayor and delegate. I know from any conference you go to, any meeting you go to, just by yourself, you just don't have the clout, the same mindset, the same. But if there's two of you, you work off each other. You're engaging. You're talking to more people as two. That's my opinion. And again, I agree. It's probably the one chance we can actually physically go to a part of the country where it is the most amount of turmoil in issues right now, and it literally is turmoil. And I think it should be amended to say mayor and a delegate, so two.
Councillor Gilroy.
Just to further to Councillor Long, the reason a lot of people in our community are suffering is we have a lot of people who shop and support Peace River, Grand Prairie, Edmonton, Slave Lake, and they don't spend their money in High Prairie. Talk about the restaurants and the rest that don't do that. I can say that with a clear conscience with the amount of money I spend here, that a lot of our people who are hurting is because we're spending it out of the area, not just because of pipelines.
Okay, any other things on this? We had a suggestion for a friendly amendment. I don't know how you're standing on that one, but or do you want to stick with your original motion?
I don't disagree. I'm just concerned that if we say two, that'll get defeated.
Okay.
And that concerns me.
Okay, so sticking with that motion. Councillor
Can I add to that? I just think that it should be, and where I was going with that is in any basically, I guess, conference we've been to, Michael, you're vocal, and I applaud you and how you are able to get up and speak and do that. And that's why I say that. I think it should be Brian and yourself go to this
Policy would not allow that.
FCM. What's that?
Policy would not allow that. You went to the last one. Our policy would not allow that.
You guys are voting against the policy anyways. The policy is we have to send people. You're already voting against the policy.
No, it says
No,
we
you're
may.
voting against it already.
It doesn't say we have to.
But the point is, we should be represented, and I think it should be two people.
Okay, so we're there.
What's your thoughts? Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've already given my thought. I'm not in favor of that. I mean, as impassioned as your speech is about going to their back door and saying that, I mean, I don't know who you're gonna be meeting with to discuss that. According to the criteria of best practices, new insight, network, influence the municipal agenda while hearing from federal party leaders, share knowledge, full potential, and raise your community's profile. I guess maybe that's the only one. I mean, the policy says council shall send one or two when the conference is out of town. I mean, shall, must, should. I mean, it's an interpretation of how you want to interpret that. But I mean, either way, I'm not in favor of it. So.
Okay, we've hammered this one around. We have a motion to send a mayor and or a delegate to FCM. All those in favor? Opposed? Defeated? Moving on then to,
Don't, if I may, I hope I don't hear anybody complaining about the unemployed oil field workers here. Ever again. This is your one chance to help. One chance. And you're afraid to spend the money to do it. I don't do this often. It was a mistake. And we're gonna hear it from out there. Over any other thing that you hear, this is gonna be the one that's gonna come ringing on your doorbell. We have said no to the people out here who invest millions of dollars into our community, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars into our province, employ hundreds of thousands of people, and to the 60,000 people that are unemployed because of the downturn in this economy, we've said we don't care. We can't afford it. You're not worth it. That's what we've said. And that we're ineffective. And we have no voice. And we don't know what we're doing when we go there. That's what we've said. Not funny. Terrible.
move,
Terrible. Biggest mistake we've made on this council.
let's move on to written and verbal reports. Councillor Daneka.
No report.
Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Three things, very quickly. I was very proud to be at the Prairie River Science Fair, and we had some amazing young people that were there. The projects were really quite good, so I was very proud to be there. The Chamber of Commerce actually has been doing, was one of the very best attended ones I've seen. And they came up with some really good ideas, and they have actually developed subcommittees who will come up with detailed plans to bring to council as opposed to a wish list. So they will have some detailed plans. One of the things, and I have, is that they're also writing a letter to suggest that with every new business license, a package from the Chamber of Commerce be given by by the town that also promotes all the benefits that a chamber can give to small businesses. So a good working relationship that will cost the town nothing in the sense of being able to work together, and some really good positive things coming out of that chamber. And the other thing is, actually my daughter and I went to the round dance right after the basketball playoffs on Saturday, and it was very good to be able to support them. I saw a lot of the members that see me as a volunteer person on behalf of the town, not official, to the Aboriginal Interagency Committee. And my daughter won one of the prizes that she bid on. So she gets a 3D puzzle of the Eiffel Tower that she was hoping she would get. So she got all the little tickets and put them in. But it was I was very proud to let people know that the town council, unofficially the town council members such as myself, was there supporting them because we believe in that community. So I move my verbal report for information.
Any questions for him on that? No? All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Long.
Well, I thought you had something to say in your report.
Yeah.
You said you had one thing to
wanted
say.
to bring something.
Yeah, I already talked to Vern about it. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
On myself, really only attended two events. One was I was invited to the Filipino Valentine's Day dance. That was amazing. Wonderful food, wonderful people. It was very interesting. So that was interesting to go to. And number two was the Heart River Housing meeting. And although not official yet, there's two things I'll just give you, the heads up on. Number one is the the report, we had the consultant going around and doing the housing needs assessment, and he's got a draft report out at this point, and it's got to be reviewed and everything before it's approved for High Prairie. So that's fairly exciting, and that it's there. The premise of it at this point in time is they really see, number one, that we should be supporting the First Nations community in their bid to build housing on in their communities. So that was sort of the first recommendation. Second recommendation was that we look at building some more seniors housing in our community, because the senior populations is increasing and we don't have enough units now. The wait list is there and only going to get bigger. And specifically they were talking about senior self-contained units and also maybe some level 3 care, but that would depend on where Alberta Health was for that. So those were the two areas that he recommended. And number 3, they had sort of recommended that they might, some of the inefficient single-family homes, they wanted to see them sold off. And we had talked about that as a council, and that's something that we've been pushing for, is to get some of those 55 units that don't pay taxes into our tax roll. And that's one of their recommendations, is to sell off some of those single-family homes. So along with that, the other thing that's unofficial, and I don't know, they went down yesterday to meet with Minister Sigurdsson to see, but they heard unofficially that they were going to allow Heart River Housing to sell off some of their houses. So just what we're hoping to have happen might be a reality. So we'll have more on it there, and if they're able to sell, they had sent in a proposal for 16 homes, and we'll find out more at which ones, but on that list the town had, I believe, 5, and then the other ones were from some other communities in Heart River Housing Zone. So we may start to see that coming around. The government before was never even interested in looking at that type of a scenario, but they are now. So that's good news. Oh, and I forgot the one other thing with the recommendation from the needs assessment is to maybe work with, when they were looking at that senior self-contained, they had said maybe working with an organization and building a complex for senior self-contained, but where the bottom floor was sort of commercial, and then they could have some senior self-contained on the floors above. And specifically, they had, when they went around, Marigold had said that they have their land right beside their spot, and they might be interested in doing something like that. So that was one of their suggestions, was to look after that some more and see where that could go. So that's my update. What's that? Oh, right. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I forgot all about it. I did attend a recreation meeting as the alternate on behalf of Arlen, and summarize that is there's some issues with the transition, and they want to get the CAOs together in a room and talk about all of the issues and get them worked out to try and get this transition nice and smooth, get that moving through. So that's basically, that was the gist of it. There was they still don't know when the pool's going to open. That's where we're at with that one. Councillor Gilroy.
Just a comment that goes with your comment. I was approached by senior farmers who thought it would be a good idea as well to have some sort of area for senior citizens who want to move off the farm but aren't ready to buy the farm, if you know what I mean. And they thought that with seniors, yes, Michael, that was a joke. But at the same, don't snort. I'm trying to be serious here. The idea here was that they thought it might be that High Prairie area and part of Big Lakes surrounding here are losing some of these farmers who are feeling a little too old to farm to places like Cochrane and that, because we don't have a lot of spaces where they to have their independent living. And as much as I like Heart River Housing, I would rather encourage anyone listening here to talk to developers, because we even have that other new land piece that we got back, right by the right by the tennis courts. That would be great to turn into a seniors area and develop. We have lots that way, and it'd be great to have them develop a seniors cornerstone type of setting where people can enjoy and promote and live very healthily, because it's very close to a lot of the things. So I just want to encourage anyone listening to talk to any developer they know that wants to work on this, and the town is open, I'm sure it is, to having develop a new place outside of Heart River Housing, though we would do it with them for new business.
Okay. Any questions or any other comments? Seeing none, I move my report for information. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to Councillor Courtley.
No report.
All right.
You took my meeting.
Yeah, okay.
That's his report.
Councillor Rose is not here, so last but not least, Councillor Sinhouse.
Saving the best for last.
And I have nothing to report also.
All right, okay, well, that was quick. And I believe, yeah, that's it. Any other, nothing else? Meeting adjourned.